Conor McGregor, again, is in the headlines. He's actually called out Tenshin Nasukawa, unbelievably, after Floyd Mayweather has just beat him in an exhibition match. He said he wants to fight him in 2019, and Tenshin actually responded with a tweet saying he's open to that.
He might be open to it, but I don't think that fight's likely. For Conor McGregor to really just go out in the midst of all this talk about him, who's he going to fight in the light heavyweight division? You know, is he going to fight Khabib, Tony? Is he going to fight one of these guys? For him to just go out and fight Tenshin in an exhibition match, I think this is just hype, really, and this is just Conor McGregor trying to get his name back out there and following that Floyd Mayweather blueprint, which is to keep your name out there. It doesn't matter. You just say whatever you say. As long as people are talking about you, it's okay. And when he comes back for a real fight in the UFC, he'll still be relevant and he'll still make big money. And it's a blueprint that's worked for Floyd his whole career. So I don't make much of this potential exhibition match. Would Dana allow it, or is that covered in the contract? Or there's a lot of messing around that would be involved if that fight were to happen. So I don't make anything of it.
Yeah, Conor McGregor I think he's got a lot of matchups in the UFC, so he doesn't need to go and fight Tenshin. I don't think it's necessary at all, just for really anything. I don't think it gives him any purpose, really. He can go to the UFC and he has a lot of matchups like Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier. He's got Tony Ferguson. He's got all these fights. He's got Khabib again, possibly, or Nate Diaz. And he could just fight those guys. But another guy who had something to say on that, Firas Zahabi, had something to say. What did he say?
He said, so he made a comment explaining that he was basically saying that the fighters have now found a blueprint to beat Conor McGregor. That's roughly what he was saying. He was saying there's a way to beat him now. He's sort of been exposed, and there's a certain way to beat him, whether it's with the wrestling or we know he's good in the first couple of rounds, but then if you're coming up against a guy that's got more endurance than you and has more volume and more output and a better chin, you can get beaten. So he favored Max Holloway in a scenario, in a rematch scenario against Conor. And Conor fired back on that. He said, Conor had a tweet saying, "You don't fight. All you do is hit the clock. You don't know me."
If you don't know, Firas Zahabi is the head coach at TriStar Gym in Canada.
Very well respected.
He coaches George St. Pierre, Roy McDonald. He's a very respected coach. But so a lot of people take his opinion seriously. He does. I've watched a lot of his shows. He does his Ask Me Anythings, and he talks and goes in depth. So I don't know if it's personal, because watching and listening to Firas Zahabi over the years, he goes against Conor a lot of times. He backs against Conor. He backed Nate Diaz in both fights. He backed all these people against Conor. So I don't know if he has a bias against Conor, but in that fight against Conor and Max Holloway, I actually favor Conor. I believe Max Holloway gets hit a bit too much. He strikes 6 times. He strikes his opponent 6 times per minute, and he takes 4 shots per minute. So against Conor, you might have the best chin, but if you get hit by Conor, it's lights out, I believe. And I don't think Max will take it on the chin. I think he'll go.
Yeah. With going back to Firas, though, you got to respect his opinion. He knows what he's talking about. When he's not, it's maybe Conor's a bit out of line criticizing him or going after him. Maybe it could be another case of he's trying to get his name out there and just cause drama. But when you look at when you read the whole article or the whole quote from what Firas Zahabi said, he makes some very good points and he explains himself correctly. Now, you might have an opinion that's wrong. If you're an analyst or a coach or somebody making comments out in the public forum.
Yeah.
But the main thing is it's not if you're right or wrong. It's more if you explain your point correctly and have a scenario where your scenario will happen. If you can't explain yourself, then and you're just criticizing, then that's a problem. But that's not what we've seen from Firas. He's been very respectful about it and kind of just got a bit butthurt, I think.
Yeah, he has. He always explains his points well. He always gives reasons why. He's a technical coach. He analyzes the sport. He loves the sport, and so you do have to take some of it seriously.
And he does those breakdowns, those 1 hour breakdowns before big fights. He likes to explain them. Especially he does them a lot on Conor McGregor fights. When he fights, he does those 1 hour breakdowns where he takes questions from a live comment feed, and they're quite enjoyable to watch. They're very good.